Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism, and this video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous. And I mentioned in my last video about Christopher Russo and what he does and what he's been doing in Florida. He's done a lot of work in the schools, in the public schools, in the universities, exposing a lot of the critical race theory, a lot of the race-based theory, the incidents of child sexualization and grooming. So you've probably seen him last year or two, but what I want to show you is the power you have to shut these people down, these woke boomers who are so full of shit. Okay, and how easy it is to shut them down by not arguing with them, but by telling them how it's going to be. And when you have balkanized and you have major government and major localities red in the same line of thinking as you, these woke communist boomers have no other options. So I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing. He does a little intro until we get to the point. It's about 3 minutes in what I really wanted to show you, but it's very good.
I've been working on an exciting project to take over a public university in Florida called New College and transform it into a classical liberal arts institution. This was something that was kicked off by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He recruited me and a number of other conservative scholars and university administrators to serve on the board of trustees and actually say, look, this institution that has been failing for a number of years, can't recruit students, is well known for being a kind of social justice ghetto, recruiting left-wing ideologues and student activists who are poor performers academically and have even poorer performance upon graduation, to say, you know what, instead of shutting this down, which was actually on the table over the last few years among legislators, let's try to save this institution, let's try to turn it around, and let's try to rejuvenate it with this new idea that actually public universities should reflect the values and the will and the democratic wishes of the public. And of course, anytime that you disturb the force field of the American left, everyone starts freaking out. And so upon the announcement, you had huge coverage in the media, not just in the United States, but really all over the world. It was, Ron DeSantis appoints conservative activists to take over a public university. There was coverage in the Times, coverage in the Washington Post, even more hysterical coverage in MSNBC. But the theory is actually quite simple.
A hostile takeover of liberal college. And this is what they think. To have a hostile takeover, you have to already believe you own something. See, these liberals, they tell you what they think, but if you just listen to them. DeSantis allies plot a hostile takeover of liberal college. Well, if you're doing a hostile takeover, that means you think somebody else owns it. And they don't. In their minds they do. In reality, because they control everything, they can act like they own it and make your life miserable, but they don't own it. They think they own it. See, they think that their ideas and their ideologies are already set in stone, like they were carried down on stone tablets. Because this is their new religion. It's no different than any other religion, this stuff. This wokeism, this communism is just a different religion. That's it. They have their deities, they have their sacraments. The most holiest of sacraments is abortion.
Is that this university has not been performing, was risked being shut down because it was financially insolvent. And actually, why not have a university that is friendly to conservative faculty, friendly to conservative students, and friendly to conservative ideas? It's the smallest university in the state of Florida, and this is an experiment that's worth having because conservatives and governors like Ron DeSantis are tired of just saying, when we win elections, it's not going to result in any change. We should just actually let the bureaucrats and the DEI departments and the left-wing ideologues run the public institutions without interference. He's actually saying something quite different. It's like, no.
Right, and that is the typical loser Republican response, which is why when any Republican, usually a Gen Xer, pushes back, they are the next Satan. They are the new Hitler. They are the new whatever they want, because this is their religion. Okay, and you are attacking their deities, their sacraments, okay, the most holiest of sacraments, which they have already lost in their minds.
Elections have consequences. In order for our constitutional republic to be meaningful, we actually have to govern these institutions. And if the values of these institutions have diverged greatly enough from the values of the public, we have to implement reforms in order to bring those two things back together. And the first thing that I did was fly out to New College, and I set up a town hall meeting with faculty and another town hall meeting with students, so I could tell them my vision for transforming the university, and I could also hear from them their vision about what they like about the university and what they don't like. But of course, the public universities under left-wing bureaucratic rule are hostile to open inquiry, hostile to civic debate.
Narcissist always is. The sociopath always is. Because their ideas don't stand up to scrutiny or debate. That's why they need to bully. That's why they need to censor. That's why they need to gaslight. Whether publicly or personally in your personal life.
We got a death threat over email from someone the night prior.
Which they always do. You're always going to get death threats. It's just how it goes.
And then minutes before we were supposed to start this open conversation to establish dialogue for the constitutionally mandated Board of Trustees and the university community of students, faculty, and staff, the provost of this university, Suzanne Sherman, who has overseen the catastrophic decline of standards at New College.
Of course, and it's always the ones that are most responsible, that are always the most vocal, and the first ones to get in your face and shut you down.
Bursts into the room, virtually hysterical, wagging her finger at my face and saying, "We're going to shut this down. We can't have this debate. You're not allowed to talk," and appeal.
Because the narcissist, the sociopath, the communist, the Marxist is always just going to look for any excuse to shut you down. They're going to blow it up. They're going to make it all hyperbolic about it, okay? And then and then try to make it about the fight, make it about something else, say it's too dangerous, it's too this, it's too that. Watch how, and you're going to see it, watch how he handles this Karen, this boomer Karen. There's a couple of them here, so it's going to be very enjoyable.
Appealing to these vague safety concerns as the reason for doing so. And so we had a video team there, and I'd like to show you the clip.
No.
This is the problem at your school. You know that, right? You've created an environment in which the most intolerant, the most aggressive, and the people who threaten violence can veto you, can veto the president, can veto any changes. We're setting a new standard here.
We cannot put our community at risk.
Our community, like they just talk in these terms that mean nothing. It means nothing. Somebody made a death threat to one of the speakers, okay, which is going to happen every time you try to have a conservative agenda, you try to have a public speech that goes against one of the left's ideologies, one of the left's deities, one of the left's sacraments. And here, this is one of the deacons or the preachers or whatever, the water holders of the left. This Karen who gets off on her power, who has driven this university into the ground and is going to wag her finger and tell you you can't speak because it's unsafe, and she knows better. And watch how he handles her.
The only people at risk here are us.
Guests
We're at risk.
No, that is not true.
Okay, who's at risk?
Anybody who enters this event.
Anybody. These vague broad brush accusations, these broad brush. It's everybody. Can't say specifically. It was only one guy who was threatened.
Point is at risk. There are credible threats out there
Why-
that
who
have
deemed them credible?
not been investigated.
Credible? How is it just a lunatic? Credible? See, they use these words that don't mean anything. What makes it credible? What makes the threat credible?
Sufficiently by the
That's not what they told me.
It'll never be sufficiently investigated. We
Never.
gotta move forward.
It was an email
No.
that had some vague
Wait.
threats. They weren't direct threats. They weren't actionable threats. And
And there were threats against me.
yeah, there were threats
I'm
against
here.
Eddie personally.
I understand that, and I understand that that's what
No,
We don't.
Well, if you understand it, how is everybody in danger? This is a tantrum. This is, I want what I want. I'm in control. This is mine. You can't be here. And that's not how it's working anymore. Because this woman works for a public university in a state. This guy, Chris, and this other guy was appointed by a governor that just won his last election 2-3 months ago by 20 points. 20 points in what's supposed to be a purple state. She knows she has no backing. This is a Hail Mary attempt that on other people it might work. It might work on. Not here, not in Florida. Why? Because we have the power of balkanization. Because we've already balkanized here.
want to take.
We don't need your protection.
Yeah.
We need their protection, and we're thankful
Yeah.
for it.
I am very.
You're free. If you feel like you don't want to take the risk, you're free to go home. You're free to
We
go
are
where you want.
closing this building, sir.
No, we're not. We just
No.
took a vote. We just took a vote of the board. The board votes 2-1 as the majority.
This
Look at
is
the organizational
not,
chart.
This is not the full board.
This is the board. This is the.
That's what you tell. No, we're not doing that. Look how upset she is. She don't know what to do. They're board members. You just got outvoted. No. Poor Karen. Poor Karen not getting her way. This is what you can do if you focus on your local politics. You could take the power away from these babies. And he's not being disrespectful. He's not yelling at her. He's not name calling her. No, we're not doing that. No. We're shutting this down. No, you're not. No, you're not.
The quorum of the board at this board meeting, and so we have a quorum. We have 3 people. We have a 2-1 majority.
So you want.
You're not the
to-
president either.
I am acting president in President Oprah's absence.
Sure. Where is she?
She is at the Board of Governors meeting.
Call her.
Like that. Oh, she's at the board. I'm the acting. Acting? Oh, where's the president? Go call her. She's at the Board of Governors meeting. Oh, I don't care. What is that? Like a high bishop in the religion? That's meaningless. If she was so concerned about what we're going to say, why isn't she here? Because she knows. At least she knows what was going to happen. But don't worry, she calls in.
We can talk to her, but we're the board members. We voted. We have 2-1. We're not going to let you shut this down. This is the problem here.
Plenty of time.
I have the president. The president's on the phone, and she is.
Of the
Another
United
one.
States? Yeah. Okay.
Of the United States. The president's on the phone. Of the United States. You get another Karen. They just keep sending them out. They just keep sending out boomer Karens. Okay? And what are they? Liberal white boomer women. But, they're going to call you racist. Like, they're going to say, tell me who I hate. I hate black people. I hate this race. I hate these. No, the only people I hate is liberal white women. That's it. That ain't racist. Because look how they act. Look at the entitlement on them. Oh, look, no wedding ring. What a shock. What a shock.
And she is responsible for the safety of.
We are ultimately responsible. We have constitutional powers.
It doesn't matter what she
I'm happy to consult with her and hear her opinion.
Please do.
Yeah,
Make that.
but
There you go.
But
Use
ultimately,
my phone.
Like, ooh, you're gonna get it now. They don't see. They can't. They're coming to the realization that their power isn't real, and it never was, and how easily it could be taken away from them.
Dr. Oker, how are you? This is Chris Rufo. Hi. I appreciate that. I appreciate your position, but we've talked among the trustees and we've decided to move forward. And here, look, it's an anonymous, vaguely threatening email. We can't let that kind of thing shut down the democratic governance of this university. And the whole point, the whole problem that we've discussed and I've discussed with others is that you have a culture here in which the most kind of aggressive and hysterical factions of kind of activists can have a veto power over everything, and that's going to stop. And we have to model that we have the courage to set a new standard. And so, I appreciate it, but we're going to go forward as planned.
Goodbye, and you tell them how it is. Nope. And what I think actually ends up happening is, he ends up firing the president because he has that type of power. They all got fired because they've lost complete control of their university.
And that's exactly what we did. We held the conversation. It went actually really well. Faculty were very respectful. Students were very respectful. We had an open discourse. And I heard back afterwards from both students and faculty that they were encouraged by the conversation. It answered some of their questions. And even when they disagreed with me, disagreed with my vision for change at the university, they appreciated that we established an open dialogue. But what you saw in the clip from Provost Sherman is really the perfect embodiment or symbol of modern university administration. She wanted to appeal to safety in order to shut down debate, to stop anything that wasn't in her interest, and protect left-wing orthodoxy at the university from what she obviously thinks are kind of right-wing barbarians who have crashed through the gate. But you also notice something else that I think is essential. She said, "We're shutting this down," with finger pointing in my face. And I just said, "No, we aren't." And that's actually the very simple thing that we have to do as reformers, as people who want to create excellent institutions, as people who want to see a different way of governing not only our universities but our society. We have to have the courage to say to these folks who want to manipulate you, who want to protect their ideology through a kind of emotional hostage-taking or blackmail strategies, no. We're not going to do that. That's not going to be the standard. We're going to do something different. It's in our authority, and you cannot stop us. We're not going to back down to this kind of manipulation.
And you can do that when you have balkanized your localities. You can do that. And it's that easy. You tell them no. No, we're not going to do that. You're not in charge, okay? This is just the guys that could give a shit about anybody's safety other than their own. This is about the barbarians at the gate. These are about the dirty, unwashed conservatives that are going to come in and ruin their progressive party. And this university is failing. It's the lowest rated university in the state. They have recruitment issues, they have retention issues, and it's all because of this woke bullshit that goes on.
And that's exactly what we did. And even after this, I went back to New College the following week to attend the first meeting of the Board of Trustees. We had a mandate from the governor to take ambitious action. And of course, some people were not happy about this. This is a notoriously kind of left-wing college. One of the most popular programs is radical gender theory. And so as we arrived, we saw all of these students lined up on the quad protesting. And there was one student in particular that I think embodies or encapsulates the ideology behind this. And she describes what she learned at New College. So listen closely. I think that you'll understand exactly what was going on at this school before our arrival.
I learned how New College's reaction to COVID differed from DeSantis's. We had 20 cases over the...
Ooh, DeSantis. So we got the green hair, the shaved sides. They just talk to you like they're better than you. They talk down to everybody. Sound familiar for those of you who have been with me for the narcissism stuff for so long? This is what you're dealing with. Okay?
The school year of 2022 to 2021, as opposed to the millions of people who died under his fucking care.
Ooh, his fucking care. Ooh, you're so edgy. You're so edgy with your green hair. You're so edgy. Oh.
dictatorship or authoritarian leader can break down a
That just won by 20 points. That just won re-election by 20 points. All they can do is cry and scream and yell. They have no power here. See, this has no power. This is all they can do is whine about it and scream and read scripts off of their goddamn phone and make arts and crafts signs. This is what they are relegated to when you take their power away from them, when you tell them no.
society by pouring out propaganda encouraging students to stop trusting facts, science, and the news. I learned how...
And the news. And the news. This is where we're at. We got college students. This is how far we have come in this country. That we have green-haired, shaved head, radical, pierced college students telling you to trust the news. I mean, come on. It just tells you how bullshit the whole movement has been from its start. They will say anything to get and keep power. Anything.
How a fascist like DeSantis could come into power and try to tear apart this state's healthy and functioning institutions with claims that they were full of corruption, while replacing those institutions and local leaders with some of the most corrupt and vile people this planet has to offer.
Like what? Like they just don't, I don't like what you say. I don't like what you think. This is a failing public university being funded by the taxpayers. But no, like the spoiled children they are, like the spoiled children they will always be, it's give me more, give me more, give me more. They think money grows on trees. They don't understand and they don't want to understand.
I learned how these small-time corrupt leaders will do anything they can to get what they want at the expense of the people they are in charge of. I learned why a fool like DeSantis would try to destroy anyone saying nay to his white supremacist values, his cries to protect children, and homophobic, transphobic rhetoric.
Cry harder.
And so you hear it right now. This is almost like left-wing Mad Libs. All of the popular buzzwords and catchphrases that you hear, all jumbled together with very kind of high and unregulated emotional appeal. And she's saying it very clearly. This is what I learned at New College. This is the ideology that I took in. These are the beliefs that I formed. And let's face it, that is very out of step with the people in the state of Florida. The governor won a resounding re-election by a 19-point margin, specifically saying we're going to start reforming the kind of woke institutional capture. And then the protester is saying, no, we actually like woke institutional capture. She's unintentionally very honest about what was happening.
Of course there is, because woke isn't held accountable for anything, including their own grades. Grades are racist now. Grades are white supremacists now. It's the greatest thing. It's the ability to remain 16 years old for life. That's what they're looking for. That's all they're looking for. That's all these wokesters are looking for, is to remain 16, 17 years old for life. Old enough to do cool shit, okay, but young enough not to be responsible for fucking anything that mommy and daddy has to pay for it. Mommy and daddy, but not their mommy and daddy, because they hate mommy or daddy and mommy and daddy, so they want the government to be mommy and daddy. Because the government told them they're smarter than mommy and daddy. They're no better than mommy and daddy. You should report on mommy and daddy. Because somebody like her is the new Red Guard.
On campus. And so, of course, we went into the meeting. We had to do what we had to do. And we took really decisive action immediately. We terminated the employment of the president, who
Yes.
I think actually is a very sweet lady. I admire her. I think she'd be a great English professor, but didn't have the strength, didn't have the vision, and didn't have the toughness that was required to actually reform this institution.
So, like, what happens here is, okay, you're going to have these people out here screaming, just saying the most ignorant shit that you can possibly imagine coming out of your mouth. Well, I'm going to hold the president accountable because you are not educating these people. You are not educating these people. You are indoctrinating these people. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Can only happen if you balkanize. But this is what can happen if you balkanize. If you start paying attention to your localities, you have power. You have power that you can take the power away from these communists, these Marxists, these leftists, these wokeists, these wokesters, these narcissists, these societal narcissists, whatever you want to call them. They're finished because they have no arguments. All they know how to do is name call. That's it. That's all they can do is name call and then start breaking shit and getting violent. That's their only play. They got nothing else. And when they don't have a government that's going to back them up and tell them it's okay, they're done. You're fired. Get out. Nice lady, but get out.
We had the general counsel step down. We also affirmed a plan to abolish all of the college
and the general counsel. Let me back it up a little bit. So the president and the general counsel, bye-bye.
Didn't have the strength, didn't have the vision, and didn't have the toughness that was required to actually reform this institution. We had the general counsel step down. We also affirmed a plan to abolish all of the college's DEI programs. And then we appointed, at least tentatively, according to after negotiations, new leadership. We brought in a very strong president, a very strong general counsel, and they're going to bring in a very strong team to actually make these reforms. And yet, the college president, Pat Oker, insisted against all evidence, against all the evidence in this clip where you have all of these students, including one wearing something quite innovative. It was a Antifa flag wrapped around his or her body, not quite sure. And yet the president insists, we're not indoctrinating. We're not pushing an ideology. We have a large DEI department. We have a massive gender studies department that has a third of all faculty affiliating with it. We have a notorious left-wing culture. The consultant reports that the university itself has hired says that it's politically correct. It has a left-wing echo chamber. The activist nature of the student body repels applicants from wanting to attend, despite all of the evidence. No. We aren't indoctrinated. I can't see any of it. So let's roll the clip.
But I'm going to say publicly, I do not believe that students are being indoctrinated at New College. To the students of New College, I see you.
You're fired.
I offer these two final thoughts. First, know that you are truly loved here. Not just for what you do, but for who you are.
Okay, boomer.
And second, the light that is within you, don't hide it under a bush. Let it shine. Thank you.
Look.
Okay, you gotta go. Bye. Thanks. Bye. There's the door. Bye. Out.
On one hand, I'm sympathetic. The president is a very nice person. Of course, she's going to have emotions when she is when her contract is terminated, when she's let go by the university in a very public fashion. So I have sympathy, but ultimately, this is also part of the problem and the tactics of left-wing administration. They resist all change through what you saw in the first clip, which was an appeal to a kind of pseudo-appeal to safety. What you saw in the second clip, kind of deranged activist anger and protest used to intimidate people and sometimes works. And then you have a kind of, frankly, if I'm going to be very honest about it, a kind of mealy-mouthed, abstract, platitudes. There's light shining within you. Look, you are the executive of a public institution. The institution is on the verge of bankruptcy. Legislators are so frustrated that they're thinking about dissolving it altogether. And by the Florida Board of Governors academic metrics...
Well, they would rather it be dissolved. See, here's the thing. They would rather it be dissolved than have the likes of him or somebody who thinks like him or me or any of us be in charge. They would rather it be dead. They'd rather be dead than to see this.
Their actual official state standards, New College ranks dead last. You have catastrophic admissions numbers. You have 20% of kids drop out after the first year. You have roughly 50% of kids don't graduate within 4 years. And then after 1 year after graduation, half of the kids can't get jobs. And the other half that can get jobs, they make a median wage of $32,000, minimum wage plus. And so, again, on an emotional level, I feel sympathy. But what we have to do is we have to have the strength, the toughness, the principle, and the will to say, we need good governance. We need accountability. We need results. We need excellence. And look, there is probably light shining in all of the students, but we're not going to get it through emotional appeals. We're not going to get it through platitudes. We're going to get it through performance.
But that's all and see, that's the problem. That's all the left has is emotional appeal. They can't perform. They don't want to perform. They don't have the ability to perform. See, they're obsessed with this equity thing, but we're not equal. There's people that are smarter than others. People are better at certain skills than others. You can't just make everything say it's all equal, bring up people who really can, give them an advantage to bring them up to the people who can, and then handicap the people who can, and then call it equity and think you're accomplishing anything. You're accomplishing nothing. Because the people who can learn won't. Because these people can never.
We're going to get it through good governance. We're going to get it through reprioritizing excellence over simple identity pandering. And the other thing that we have to be very honest about is that any institution that is going through reforms is going to go through some very tough weeks and tough months. You've seen it with the takeover of Twitter. You've seen it with the takeover of any corporation that goes through bankruptcy proceedings. You see it very less so with government agencies, but actually we should see it more so with government agencies. When institutions are not meeting their responsibilities, leadership has to change. And while I know that this is going to make for a kind of very appealing left-wing narrative, poor president loses her job at public university, we know, and I think that you know, that in order to actually make our democratic governance over public institutions meaningful, in order to reject left-wing racialism as the orthodoxy of our public universities and colleges, and in order to reestablish academic freedom, free speech, open inquiry, and civil debate in a real way, we're going to have to make these tough decisions. And so that's really what I'm hoping that I can demonstrate, and that my colleagues can also demonstrate, is that we're setting a new standard. We're not going to back down to emotional, kind of victim-oriented bullying or fake appeals to safety or kind of unhinged activist polemics, calling everything racist and fascist and anti-democratic, even if, for example, the governor of Florida wins overwhelmingly in a Democratic contest. And we're also not going to back down from the hard reality that we're going to have to make decisions. Not everyone is going to make it in the new organization. And so look, in this case, we offered, the offer on the table was very generous, severance package for President Oker. She gets a 1-year kind of personal development leave, and then she has the opportunity to come back actually as an English faculty member. And this is more generous than any company.
More than I would have given. I would have been like, get on out of here. Get on out of here.
Any private corporation would give to an executive for an organization of a similar size. Again, there's only 700 kids at this university. It's the size of a medium-sized high school. And so I hope that as we move forward with this reform effort, that we all have the stomach, that we all have the guts, and that we all have the strength of character to do what it takes to reform the administration, to reform the academic programs, to reform the curriculum, to reform the culture, and ultimately to reform the performance of this university. And so I pledge to you, I pledge to the board members, I pledge to the people of Florida, who through their election of Governor Ron DeSantis are responsible for my appointment here, that we have what it takes. We're going to set a higher standard and we're never going to back down.
And that's the end of that. And this is another reason why I'm for DeSantis over Trump at this point, because this is who DeSantis appoints to political positions. Trump points these friggin' neocons and then tells you how great they are at first, and then they go and they turn around and they screw them over, and then they're like, you're just sick of it. Trump can't hire anybody. But I don't want to make this about Trump. I don't. This is the power of balkanization. This is the power of taking control of your local governments. Some people might say they fired the university president over something someone else, one of the students said. Yeah. Well, what about free speech? Well, nobody's taking away little green hairs for speech. She could say whatever she wants. But what is it the left and the media just love to say to us when they're censoring everybody left or right? You have freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences from speech. Okay. Well, I'm not even going to have her have the little green hair girl who said it have the consequences. No, who gets the consequences is the one who allowed it and put it into her head. Those are the consequences. You could say whatever you want. But if you're out there in a public university being educated, okay, by people getting paid by taxpayer money, and this is what you're out here saying, well, you know what? You're failing at your job. And they use what they probably thought was just going to be another typical screaming, ranting, like a banshee speech where they just gets to call everybody racist and fascists and Nazis and white supremacists and homophobes, and with every accusation they could make without consequence. Oh, there is gonna be consequence. Okay, the person in charge of this mess is going to feel the consequence. The general counsel, okay, who advises this person legally is going to feel the consequence. You're out. You're out. Got anything else to say? What other theories do you have? For the first time, there's hope that you could see that the conservatives and that there are Republicans that know how to take the fight to the Marxists, to the leftists, to the wokester, to the communists, to the narcissists, to the main tool of societal narcissism. This is how you do it. You tell them no. You tell them no, and you hold them accountable. But you can only do that once you have balkanized. I've been telling you, get to some place. If you live in one of these blue hellholes, to get out. Figure out a way to get out and get to a spot where people think like you. And then you get control of your school boards. You get control of your board of education. You get control of your town councils, your city councils, your mayors, your states, your state government, your governor, all of that. And it all falls in line. And then you have a governor that wins by nearly 20 points in what's supposed to be a purple state with an agenda. And then you're able to put in guys like Chris Rufo and others like him to go into these universities and start holding people accountable. To tell the left no. But you can only do that once you've balkanized. So, let me know what you think. Thank you to Anonymous for all you do and sponsoring. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, or email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care.